Welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to play a blues using two chord shapes, two fairly simple chord shapes. They're barre chord shapes, which you can move around the neck. Don't worry when I say barre, because they're not the terrible chunky barre chords that nobody likes playing. They're actually quite easy barre chords. They're partial chords that just have the upper voicings of the chord that we want to play. And the good thing about these chords is there is quite a distance in interval relationships between the bass note and the upper voicings of these chords, which allows you to sort of play an independent bass line plus harmony type thing when you're playing your 12-bar blues, which is always a very impressive thing to be able to do. Now, before we get to the tutorial, let's just have a little listen to what this blues sounds like. Okay, so grab your guitars, get in tune, and let's learn this piece. Okay, so let's get ready to learn this piece. Now, regarding the fingering, have a little look at the demonstration I'm about to do. You really want to try to play this with your fingers, and here's how. Now, the right hand fingering is quite important here. I'm using my fingers rather than a plectrum. This piece would be possible to play with a plectrum, but I prefer the control that my fingers allow. And I have my finger on the trigger, so to speak, so all my fingers are ready where they need to be on the strings that they need to pluck. And then I fire the trigger, so my finger's on the trigger, it's on this string, and it's on the top three strings, like so. And there you go, you just fire it. And then my fingers are trained, and you're going to need to train your fingers as well. My fingers are trained to get back there, right? Finger on the trigger again. Ready to pull that trigger. Now, the advantage about playing like this is you have great control over how you mute your strings. You see? So as to the chord shapes themselves, let's have a look at the chord shapes. There are two chord shapes that you need to form on the guitar, and they're really quite easy. The very first bar uses a chord shape. Both chord shapes, by the way, just use the top three strings, the high E, the B and the G string. That's all that you are fretting, and that's all that you'll be plucking. And you'll be plucking that with finger 1, 2 and 3. So for the first bar, you want to fret the fret 9 on E string, fret 8 on B string, and fret 9 on G string. Great little chord. It looks like a little backwards triangle there on your guitar fretboard. And the bass note is the open A string. And the first bar, that's simply it. Open A string that you play, and then the top three strings, and you stagger the first two notes, and then you play them both together. So you get this rhythm. Like that. And the whole piece really just follows that rhythm. I did a few fancy bits in my playthrough at the beginning of this tutorial. Feel free to add such embellishments, but for the body of this, we're just going to do a nice simple rhythm, which will see you through the piece, and you can really make it your own after that. So the first bar, it's this chord shape here, which is the A7 chord shape. Of course, this is a blues in A. I don't think I mentioned that. We're playing a blues in A here. So the first bar is A7. Now the second bar, that introduces chord shape number 2. Again, very, very easy. We play fret 8 of the E string, and then fret 7 of the B string and G string. The bass note in this instance is our D note here. Open D string. And then we'll go back to the first chord shape. And now we move to another chord shape which uses the second shape. It's a Barry chord, so we'll just fling it down here and it becomes an A7. So that's fret 3, fret 2, fret 2. And again, bass note is an A bass note. So I'll play the first 4 bars of this blues in A. And. There you go. So that's your first 4 bars. Now I do a little run up in my introduction, and it's just 3rd fret, 4th fret. Don't worry too much if that complicates things, you don't need to put that in. Going to bar 5 though, it's a bog standard D7 shape. So that's fret 2, fret 1, fret 2, 2, 1, 2, just like that. And this of course is a D7 shape, which is where this little backwards triangle originates from. So that's our bar 5. Bar 6, we still play the open D string, but we've got our different voicing. And then we repeat this voicing here with an A in the bass. And then again we go all the way down to this voicing. So we're now 2/3 of the way through our blues. That's the first 4 bars and then the middle 4 bars. We're going to go into the turnaround right now. But just let me play up to where we have got to at the moment, which is the first 8 bars. So bar 1, bar 2 moves to D, bar 3 is the same as bar 1, and bar 4, A string in the bass, in this chord shape here. And bar 5, it's a D7 chord, as easy as that. Bar 6 stays on the D7 chord, different voicing. And then bar 7, same as bar 1. And then bar 8, same as bar 4. Okay, now we're moving into the turnaround, so the chords go E, D, A, E. The voicing we use for E, we have low E in the bass, and we play this backwards triangle D7 shape. This time we're on fret 4, fret 3, fret 4, and then we play a D chord, so we've got a D string in the bass, and we play this voicing of D. And then we move up to the A7 shape with an open A string in the bass. And for the very final E chord, we choose to use this voicing and we plonk it up on fret 10, 9, 9. 10, 9, 9. So those last 4 bars, E7, low E string in the bass, D7, open D in the bass in this chord shape, A7, A string in the bass, this chord shape here, and then E7, again, low E in the bass but with this different chord shape. And that is your 12-bar blues using 2 chord shapes. I did that quite quickly. I hope it wasn't too quick. Just let me play it through one more time. I'll play it through fairly slowly. You can either just watch or follow along. So we start off with the A7. We have an A string in the bass. Now we have a D string in the bass. A string in the bass again. Same as before, A string in the bass. Now we have a D7 chord, D string in the bass. D stays in the bass. A7, A string in the bass. and an A stays in the bass. And then we have a low E in the bass. And then we have D string in the bass. And then we have A string in the bass. And then we have E string in the bass. That completes our 12-bar blues. Hope you enjoyed that and hope you learned something. Please have a look at my other tutorials. Please visit again.